I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street.
Hey guys, it's Steve Owens here. I want to tell you a little story. My wife is in Evanston, Wyoming on temporary assignment. Since she's away from her cuddly teddy bear, myself, getting to sleep at night has been a little difficult. But luckily she found a product at a local store made by Inhale Health called electronic melatonin. Inhale Health presents a disposable vape pen that introduces melatonin directly into your bloodstream. Inhalation allows melatonin to be absorbed instantaneously, providing faster effects than possible through tablets or beverages. With just a few puffs each night before bed, a good night's sleep is just a breath away. My wife actually used this product and it did work. She was able to get restful night's sleep finally after so long. So when she was telling me about it, I told her to bring me one the next time she came home. I used it and I also loved it. It's not easy to get to sleep when your wife is 3,000 miles away. Each vape pen comes preloaded with 400 breaths, which is roughly a 1-month supply, and is already charged. You don't need to refill it. You don't need to recharge it. When you're done, simply throw it in the recycle bin and order another one. My wife and I love this product so much that I actually reached out to the company and asked them to sponsor my show. And they agreed. So here's what they're going to do. Every one of my listeners who goes to inhalehealth.com and orders any of their 7 different vape pen products is going to get a 10% discount plus free shipping when you put in the promo code FSP as in Fascination Street Podcast. So there it is, guys. That's inhalehealth.com, 10% off any of their 7 products, free shipping. Promo code FSP. So give it a shot. You'll be glad you did. And hey guys, you're welcome. Welcome back, guys. This episode's guest is Scott Churchson. You may know Scott from his film and television career, his podcast FILM YAP, or if you live on the East Coast, you may recognize Scott as the voice of the New Jersey Devils. In this episode, we talk about Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Of course, we talk about his podcast, FILM YAP. We find out what the hell a finger contortionist is. And we talk about his involvement with a shared universe podcasting studio in New Jersey. Enjoy, guys. This is Scott Churchson.
Yeah, talk to me, yeah.
I want to welcome you to the show, Scott Churchson. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you sitting down with me.
Hey, I appreciate it also. Listen, I'm grateful you reached out to me. I'm flattered by it. And, yeah, whatever questions you got, it's on the table.
All right. First, let's talk a little bit about you.
Okay.
I'm assuming you're somewhere on the East Coast. I'm going to guess New Jersey. Is that right?
Yes.
All
yes,
right.
New Jersey, where our state motto is, we don't suck, really.
I've seen the play Hamilton. Your state motto is, everything's legal in New Jersey.
More or less, yeah. It's funny. Actually, the funny thing about Jersey, I'm born and raised here. Jersey Shore, the show, apparently is doing some reboot, movie, reunion, something or another going on. And a lot of people here in Jersey are kind of up in arms about it because of the fact that most of the cast of that show is actually from Staten Island, not from New Jersey, but everybody thinks that we are them. And it drives us crazy because everybody thinks that we're all, Guido, Italian heads here. And it's like, I'm Irish Jewish right here. I'm a ginger Jew. It's one of the furthest things I could be from Italian. But yeah, it's been interesting the last 24 hours with that show and everything.
So I get what you're saying, because here in Texas, every time I see anybody on TV who's supposedly from Texas, they're wearing a cowboy hat and boots, and they sound like a fucking hillbilly.
Damn right, and everybody got to talk like this, and they got their guns and everything like that, Dallas Cowboys, woo!
You are spot on. Spot on.
Yeah, I know, but you know what it is? People look at television and assume it's factual. And it's just, oddly enough, the entertainment industry, both of us are in, myself, I guess maybe a little more so, but yeah, no, it's just funny that way.
It's ridiculous that way. So
yeah, but you got the Alamo down there.
Fuck yeah, we got the Alamo.
It's funny. My father did basic training in San Antonio.
Everybody did basic training here.
Yeah, everybody from the Air Force drops into San Antonio for 8 weeks. But yeah, no, I've never been. But I do want to check out the Alamo, even though I know they've built up a lot of stuff, like an entire mall around it now.
I don't know about a mall, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty built up. It's worth seeing. It's pretty fucking cool. But
Cool.
I will tell you that Pee Wee Herman's bicycle is not in the basement. I checked.
Okay. Well, see, that dashes my hopes now.
Yeah.
You know, because
well,
I had everything riding on that.
see, I
You know?
wanted
And it's
to.
funny because people are like, a lot of people don't even get that reference right there.
Yeah.
You know,
no
because
shit.
that movie is, 32 years old, I think, now?
Well, just to tell you how old that movie is, I saw it at a drive-in.
Really?
Yeah, so a drive-in, kids, is a movie theater where you sit in your car and you watch a giant screen and listen to the movie on the radio that's in your car.
Yep. That is a lost art now, too, definitely.
Yes, it kind of is.
But yeah, that was Tim Burton, too, Will, no less. Nobody remembers that part.
Nobody. That's the crazy fucking part. Like, I mean, I saw it, back then, and I'm sure I've seen it once or twice since then, but it was about 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. I was listening to Tim Burton be interviewed on a podcast. It was probably the Nerdist. They talked about Pee-wee's Big Adventure being like one of his first movies, his like first big budget movies. And I was like, what the fuck? I had no idea. And I've seen that thing a few times.
Well, I mean, I guess by comparison to like Pee-wee's Playhouse and even Broadway, by comparison, yeah, it's bigger budget because it was, like I said, it was Tim Burton. I think maybe Danny Elfman did the music too.
It wouldn't surprise me. Speaking of
and it
Pee-wee's,
made the song Tequila ridiculously famous.
oh my god, I had to perform that in my 5th grade talent show with a bunch of other fucking assholes.
It's funny, 3 years ago when I failed epically on America's Got Talent, that was the song that I played.
Oh really?
And it was a good choice of song. Poor performance, got voted off in the first round. But yeah, no, it was Tequila. I was very proud of that part anyway.
So after you lost or got kicked off or whatever, did you just go have some tequila?
I probably could have once the reviews came out, yeah. Because the internet is a fascinating place when 11 million people have a knee-jerk reaction about your failure, and 11 million is actually how many people watch the show every week. So, I mean, I had articles that were written about me all around the world. I had people trolling me. Remember, I had a troll from Edmonton in Alberta, and he called me an over-the-hill hack, and it was all this kind of stuff. Some people were really passionate about, their like reality contestant shows. It's been 3 years. It's been fine since.
You know what's really funny is I think I got trolled for the very first time last night from some crackhead in Scotland.
Congrats.
I had
usually when you get trolls are a good thing, believe it or not. People are weird. I had somebody on Twitter earlier today, a millennial outright, ask me if I'm in my 50s. I'm 42. So it was the first time I ever got a 50s comment.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I'm like, I was born in '75. I'm 42 right now. It's like, I'm in my mid-20s. What are you, 50s?
Oh my god. Ugh.
Yeah, it's kind of like that line from Rocky Balboa, where it's like, it ain't over till it's over. What is that from? The 80s? No, more like the
70s. Same thing.
So, yeah.
All right, Scott. First of all, did you say you were a ginger Jew?
Yes, I am.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not super familiar with the Jewish culture, but y'all go to synagogues. Is that right?
I'm dual practice. I mean, the Judaism thing, ironically, I didn't really even know about for a while, because we were always raised Christian.
Oh, okay. So it's more heritage?
I'm Jewish on my mother's side. My wife is Jewish on her mother's side, so we're both, on mother's side only. So we kind of bounce between, like, Easter and Passover. So, we'll bounce between Easter and Passover, things like that. We'll do Christmas and Hanukkah. We'll do both sides of the fence there. It's not overly serious. I mean, I don't do a lot of the, the major stuff on that. Definitely not Orthodox. But, no, it's just, I don't know. I'm just me.
That's a great answer. It sounds like you and your wife are just collecting holidays. Y'all just take them all.
Exactly, I'll start picking up Kwanzaa after that, or
that'd be great.
Maybe I can find Chinese New Year or something too while I'm at it.
I was gonna say it must have been super weird to have the last name Churchson and then have to go to synagogue all the time, but I guess that really doesn't work out.
It was okay on that part. Ironically enough, the Churchson is from my father's side, because that used to be Kramzovich until the Cold War, and then got transferred over to Churchson, which is now the translation. So it's a very English-Irish sounding name, but has Russian origin.
Super interesting.
You're learning a whole bunch about my genealogy today, right?
Everybody is.
Yeah, I mean, we're all mutts in some facet or form now.
What are you, 50? Hey, so...
Exactly, yeah. Damn, kids, get off my lawn.
Get off, that's right. Get off my lawn. What's a lawn?
Exactly.
Oh, you.
I remember the internet when it was dial-up. Not like you kids today.
Oh, yeah, when it took 45 minutes to download one booby.
Oh, God. Yeah. 300 baud back then. It's funny. Actually, my father worked for Motorola, so we had a lot of ties to technology and everything. So we had the internet back in the 70s.
You son of a bitch.
And, yeah, we did. We had the internet in the 70s. You know, he had a car phone in, like, the early 70s, the 60s maybe even. So we were always ahead on stuff like this. But it was nothing like it is now. But, no, at the time it was all text-based and really ridiculously slow.
I mean, what could you possibly do what could you do on the internet in the 70s? You were the only person on the internet.
It was basically, my father would use it to, like, log into news websites to get up-to-the-minute news. Because back then, you either waited till, like, the 7 o'clock, 11 o'clock news, or you basically read it in the newspaper the next day. So he was able to see the news as it happened.
So I'm like I'm like 1 year older than you or whatever, and okay. I didn't have the internet until like 1993.
Okay, in the AOL era, basically, or CompuServe maybe.
Well, basically, it was when I could move in with a couple of people, in like 3 or 4 of us living in a house, so that there was enough money for somebody to splurge and get the internet and also a computer.
And now you got your 25-year high school reunion coming up, I guess, right?
Oh my gosh, that would be the coolest thing if I ever graduated from high school.
Okay, then. Well, I graduated bottom of my class, and I barely got through, so, maybe it's not all cracked up today.
I'm probably coming up on my 20th anniversary of my GED.
Okay, good enough. 3 college credits to my name, so I hear you.
Sweet. I probably have the same. So, I do have a question for you, which probably a lot of other people are going to have. What the fuck is a finger contortionist?
Okay, that was my America's Got Talent 15 milliseconds of fame kind of thing.
What year was that?
That 3 years ago, season 10. It was really this thing I'd done for College Humor, for like College Humor Live. I had a viral video that did like 840-some-thousand views at the time. I ended up on America's Got Talent as this dumb little act of just being able to basically turn my fingers 90 degrees, but not in the normal 90-degree angle. So, I mean, I could literally, take my ring finger and stretch it across the knuckle of my index finger. I'm trying to explain this to the audience who's trying to look, who can't actually necessarily see it, but I can turn my fingers like 90 degrees to the left or the right.
Right, sideways.
And, yeah, sideways. And, the goal for, typically the way I run with it is to get the ring fingers, for example, to touch each other when they're side by side. So you put your index fingers together. If your ring fingers touch each other, then you did your job. But it's little things like that I've always been able to do. It was meant to be this fun little thing, and now, ironically enough, it is. I get autograph requests. I get people asking me to send pictures of it and shout outs and stuff. So it turned into this weird little thing that's a nice little, blurb on the resume, if you want to call it that. But I didn't know what to call myself, so finger contortion kind of became the thing.
Well, I think that describes it perfectly. I saw it on the internet, and I was like, what the fuck? I know what it is, but I wanted you to explain it. How did you get hooked up with College Humor? Like, how did they find you or you find them?
College Humor was a little weird. I had just started in the acting industry. I was fortunate enough to land an agent, which I still have now.
So you were already an actor before you did this College Humor thing?
I had been in the industry for barely a year at that point. I hadn't really done anything except for a couple, small horror films that I died in promptly. And so he submitted me for this thing called 5 Second Talent, where you go in front of the people that were the College Humor people, and you just showed them a talent that would try and wow them in 5 seconds. So I did this. And of the 500 some odd people, they selected 3 to go on College Humor Live, which is their annual show in, I think it was like East Village or something like that. And it was like 700 some odd people in attendance. And somehow I ended up actually winning College Humor Live with my thing. There was another guy that somehow, ate cereal off his chest. Another guy could burp while beatboxing. And I just broke my fingers on stage. And that's how I got involved with College Humor Live. I ended up winning. The videos are out there on YouTube somewhere, if you can find them. That was 2011, I think. And then fast forward a couple of years later, I submitted to America's Got Talent, showed them a viral video that I had with like 800 some odd thousand views on it, showed them College Humor Live, and they're like, okay, you, audition. That's how I got it.
And then how long were you on it?
For what, America's Got Talent?
Yeah.
One round and done.
Who were the judges?
We had, let's see, Nick Cannon did the interviews, which Nick Cannon's a really cool guy. The 4 judges were at the time were Howard Stern, Heidi Klum, Mel from Spice Girls, and Howie Mandel.
Oh, cool. Well, I think that's fucking awesome. Was that in New York, or where was that?
We shot that. The first round was at New York PAC, I think it is. And then the actual, if you go past that, then the rest of it's at Radio City.
Oh, okay.
But they had both those on that. So they had some in LA, they had some in New Jersey. And then eventually they moved you forward into Radio City in New York.
Got you. What made you decide to be an actor? Because you had said you were a financial advisor before that, right?
Yeah. I was burned out. I was a financial advisor for 7.5 years, working on full commission, as a life insurance salesman, investments, and everything as difficult as you could really imagine it would be. And I kind of always wanted to do something in the entertainment field. I always had a dream of getting like an IMDb credit somewhere. So I got burned out as a financial advisor, and I got hooked up with this guy who, kind of a skeevy guy, but he did his job, working, doing extra work on TV shows. The pedestrian walking down the street while celebrities are doing something, the guy sitting in the audience, that kind of thing. And he charged 15%, but he got me in with a lot of these people, and I started making connections and building rapport. So literally, I got involved in this industry through Craigslist.
Really?
Yep. Through an ad on Craigslist, and it's like, hey, do you want to be an actor? Get started in movies. Be a star. And I went in there, and this is a really crummy office. It smelled weird. It was in a basement somewhere. It was one of those things that every part of my body was telling me this is a bad idea, except my gut. My gut was telling me, run with it anyway. This guy is clearly snowing you, but maybe there's something to it. So I trusted my gut over every other instinct, because you know how when you have somebody you have a really bad salesman in front of you?
Yep.
I taught sales, so I had a really, really, really bad salesman in front of me. But I ran with it anyway because my gut was like, trust me on this. And I did. And it worked. I mean, to the guy's credit, he got me a lot of background gigs. He got me a couple reality show things where I was, body double for like Andy Cohen on some stuff. Some of the stuff on Food Network, as an audience member, and I started to building connections in the industry just by virtue of just hanging out with people on set. So the guy did his job, but it was just, like I said, it was a little off-putting the environment a little bit.
If you look at it one way, I mean, he's going to get 15%, but he's only going to get paid if you get paid, right? So.
Yeah, but the funny thing was, I was getting paid like $85.
Right.
So for me, from New Jersey, I would have to work my way into the city.
Oh, that's
get $85. Pay taxes on that, and then take 15% of that and give it to him for what, $7 or $8 or $10. So I was making pretty much zero money on this. But it was fun.
I've been to New York and New Jersey, and the tolls fucking add up over where you are, man.
Fortunately, yeah. Fortunately, though, what I ended up doing is I parked in a spot over in Hoboken that at the time was free, and I would take the PATH train across, so it saved me a ton of money that way. So I didn't have to deal with, the GWB, the Lincoln Tunnel, or any of that. I can do it this way. It took a little longer, but boy, did it save me buckets of money.
So the railway that you took in Hoboken, is that the one that fucking crashed all crazy style like 9 months ago or a year ago or whatever?
No, that was New Jersey Transit. New Jersey Transit, I have my own impressive opinions on, I guess we'll say, or impassioned opinions, I guess we'll call it. No, that was New Jersey Transit. That was on, I think, the Spring Valley line. And yeah, it didn't stop, and it just went right through the train terminal. I've been in that train terminal.
I was in Hoboken. Rough. I left Hoboken the day before that.
Really?
Yeah, because my wife's company, she works for a psychiatric hospital company, and they're headquartered across from the Stash.
Okay.
She was in a meeting in her office, and I am a huge Frank Sinatra fan, so I hauled ass over to Hoboken to just fucking hang out and go see all the sights in Hoboken. I spent the whole day in Hoboken going to, the house that Frank grew up in, and then the house that Frank, the other house that Frank grew up in, and then, like the restaurant that his dad owned, and I went to the house where Frank was born, but it had burned down, and so there's just this this blue. It looks like a Hollywood Walk of Fame star, but it's blue and super badass. And they never rebuilt anything there, so there's just this like little vacant, I guess, lot, and then this star that says Frank grew up there. And so it was the next day that train thing happened, and I was like, what the shit?
Still not rebuilt it.
They haven't?
No, it's still. I think I was in there. I was in that terminal a couple months ago. The plan is they're going to have it fully 100% ready by 2019. It's a very slow process with this right now, And I don't really go through there. I mean, occasionally, if I have an audition, I will still park in Hoboken, like the 4-hour parking. Still do the pass train. So I walk through the area, and yeah, I saw the calendar that they had set up, and it was like a 2-year calendar before they fixed this train terminal thing. They got it functional. They got the area up and running again. But there's still a lot of external damage because it went through and right into the waiting area.
Right.
Killed somebody, injured a few people.
Yeah.
But
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. I can't say I'm particularly surprised by it. New Jersey Transit has had some issues for a while, and it's always funny. The people that give the most information are usually the most disgruntled employees. So you'll learn a lot by chatting with those guys.
Yeah, because they got no bones. I seem to be cursing a lot more than normal. Are you okay with that?
Oh yeah, it's fine. Listen, I try to keep my podcast more or less clean because I got my niece and nephew try to listen to it. But even then, I failed a bunch of times today, so it's cool. That podcast is produced by the cast from Comic Book Men. They are in Kevin Smith's universe, so it all ties together. F-bombs are fine. I don't care.
Right.
So,
okay.
No, trust me, it's all cool. But thanks for asking. I appreciate it.
Well, I will try to keep a handle on that. I'm drinking a little bit of bourbon over here because I've had a long, stressful day, and I think it might be getting the sailor of me.
I know that feeling. The podcast that I run with, I'm waiting on the time where we're going to start having a trivia contest where we have to take a drink every time we get the question wrong.
Oh, man.
And I know that that's going to happen. Yeah, and the problem is my wife produces the show, but I usually drive us both down there. If we end up doing this trivia contest, which, by the way, I'm 1 in 3 in the contests that we've had, she's going to have to drive back. Because there is no way I'm going to be anywhere near sober if I end up actually doing this contest. We got to do that.
So well, let's talk about your podcast. What's it called?
All right, it's called Film Yap. Yap, Y-A-P, which is short for Yet Another Podcast. Because Lord knows there's plenty of podcasts like that out there now. You know how it is. Sometimes you create something and you're like, is that a good idea? I like that name. And I had to ask so many people, are you cool with it? Do you think it's okay? And they're like, yeah, it's fine. We're fortunate because, like I said, Ming Chen and Mike Zapsik from AMC's Comic Book Men, which are part of Kevin Smith's universe, produce the show. They actually head down to the studio that they have, and this place is so decked out with so much, toys and nostalgia and pictures and stuff. I mean, there's pictures of these guys with, like, Chris Helmsworth, Stan Lee, and Tom Hiddleston, and they got autographs all over the place. And it's a geek's haven. It really is.
Where is it? Is it across the street from the stash, or is it in a secret location like Batman's Cave?
No, it's in Eatontown, New Jersey, which is about 4 miles south of the stash.
Really?
Stash is in Red Bank at exit 109. Eatontown is 105, so they're 4 miles apart.
I had absolutely no idea that they had their own studio.
It's relatively new. Ming is really the one that's really running with this heavy, but it only opened up, I think, December of last year. So it's still relatively new.
Okay, because the last time I was at the stash, I think was in... it's probably been May since I was at the stash. No, that can't be. No, I guess it is. Oh, who cares?
Well, the stash hasn't changed any.
Right, I got that. I mean, it's been a while since I talked to Ming. I guess I was just chatting with fucking Walt yesterday, or today, earlier, really.
It's amazing to me that even though these guys have the show, which is on its 6th and very possibly push 7th season, they are still the ones that answer the phone. They're still the ones that do all the work. They still do everything.
I know, that blows me away.
And that blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking to Walt for, I guess, before the show came on. I expected once the show came on that it would just be, somebody else or whatever, or get ignored or something. But no, it's still Walt. Mm-hmm. And also, I think it's really weird that, because I know they shoot the show a few months in advance, and so by the time it airs, which is months later, I'm wildly surprised that some of the things that people walk in and Walt actually buys are still available.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that happens a lot.
Like, that's crazy.
Well, you know what it is? The stash is a little out of the way, kind of.
Oh, it's a lot out of the way.
Because of the show like that, you don't think of, Red Bank, New Jersey as being the headquarters of this kind of thing. You think, somewhere in New York. You think somewhere, a little more, populated, frankly, and not this town with like 35,000 people in it.
Yeah, but this is the internet age. So, like, I mean, I can't be the only person who picks up the phone or shoots an email to Walt and says, hey, do you still have that thing? I just can't believe it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe they got extras of it. I mean, you don't know what comes into that place. They have so much stuff in the back. They have so much stuff underneath.
Well,
maybe they got multiples. You don't know. But it's funny because if you talk to Walt is the guy that handles the numbers and the business of that.
Right.
And it's funny because Walt is all business in that place.
Yes, he is all business.
So Ming is the face of it, I think, arguably. And Mike's the receptionist, answers the phone most of the time.
What's funny is I've been there, I don't know, like 4 or 5 times, and I've only ever seen Walt and Mike. And Walt is always sitting at the poker table doing paperwork, and Mike is always doing everything else. I've never seen Ming there. Obviously, I've never seen Brian there because he doesn't work there.
Brian, I saw when I was in the stash like maybe 2 weeks ago. Brian popped in briefly. Ming is usually traveling, so he was in the podcast studio when we were recording earlier today. As soon as that show was over, he had to actually head up to Albany tonight. He's on his way to Albany literally right now.
Is there a con?
I think there is, yeah. But going from Red Bank, New Jersey to Albany is probably, if I had to ballpark, I'd say probably like 250, probably like 250 miles.
Oh, he's driving?
I don't know how he's getting up there, but he's bouncing all over the place.
Wow. What does it mean when you say that that Mike and Ming produce your podcast? What does that mean?
Okay, it's Ming. It's Mike a little, definitely more Ming. But what ends up happening, it's their studio. They help us with the guests on this a lot of times. They help promote it as well. So every time we have a show, it's a lot of times Ming will promote it on his YouTube or his Facebook page. If we live stream on, he will live stream sometimes on Ming's channel, kind of thing. But if we need help with getting guests on the show, of people that have a little bit of a credible punch to them, he'll help out with that. He'll send an email. He'll do stuff like that. So we're finishing up something right now with Robin Paris, who played Michelle in The Room. And I think I've got it pretty much handled on my own, but he's going to do it for us. We've had cast members from Orange is the New Black, Stranger Things. We've had people like that. They've helped make that happen. A couple of weeks ago, we had a trivia contest on DC Trivia. I think it was last week, on DC and Marvel-specific trivia, not like Dark Horse or Malibu. And he was part of the trivia contest because Mike Zapsik really wanted to give him impossible questions to answer. So Ming had to. So he's part of this podcast in a lot of different ways, but also largely in a publicity standpoint. He and I are working on something right now with one of the local TV networks. Basically every state, every county pretty much has those little local networks that run news blurbs and things like that. So we're working on something with some of the local ones to promote the podcast studio and our show. That kind of stuff. So he handles a lot from that standpoint.
So he seems really hands-on with this whole thing.
The podcast is his baby, and not just mine. I mean, there's a few different podcasts in there. Hang On to Your Shorts has a podcast, a few others as well. And he is really, really impassioned to make this big. And apparently building a second studio, which I heard about. I don't know where it is. I'm sure it's got to be local. But they're building that studio. They're doing a lot of stuff like that. He is really, really impassioned to make this into something big.
Wow, good for him. Because he's really good at it.
Yeah, he is. And he's a fun dude, too. We're working on some stuff right now, some YouTube-related stuff that we're probably going to end up doing pretty soon, alongside a couple, possibly, if we're lucky, if we can get everything scheduled and everything, alongside a couple YouTube celebs who have Let's Plays and, video game-related channels that you may, if you follow YouTube, you would know who these people are. So we're working on that kind of stuff as well.
So you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, and I can also cut it out if you want. But what do they get out of it? Like, what do Mike and Ming, or Ming, like, what do they get out of helping you with your podcast? What do they get?
Amazingly, very, very little. They're not making money on this. It's a major burden of work that they're putting in on this. But I'm not seeing something where they are getting a lot out of this outside of just giving back. And my theory is because of the fact that, Kevin gave so much to them, they might be giving back as a way of saying thank you. I mean, Ming started out as Kevin Smith's web designer back in '95. So you talk about the internet back in '93, in the early mid '90s. He was originally their web designer. So Ming did that, and obviously has built into having a show that's been on for 6 seasons, almost 7 now. He's appeared in some of the Kevin Smith films. All 4 of them have. And I think it's his way of kind of giving back a little bit.
Well, that's wildly formative, man. That's awesome. So where can we find your podcast?
SoundCloud, it's on Facebook and Twitter. Like I said, it's called Film Yap, FILMYAP.
What would one expect to hear? Like, what do y'all talk about?
It varies from week to week. I mean, like I said, sometimes we do guests. Sometimes we do trivia contests. I mean, tonight's episode, which hasn't got up on SoundCloud yet, I may as well just throw this out there. We had a filmmaker who won her first film last week at the Grove Film Festival. My wife actually had her first film premiere with this film. So we had her on as a way of saying thank you for putting my wife in the film. But this episode also, we talked a little bit about Tracy Morgan's new TV show and what it's like working alongside Tracy. Because I did some work on the show Last OG, which just premiered on TBS. So talking about what Tracy Morgan is like. And that's, for the record, that guy is a dream. He's absolutely amazing. Such a laid-back dude. We also talked about a recent article that I read about myself questioning my sexuality. Because I get articles. It literally is Scott Churchson You. So I read an excerpt of that tonight because the article was questioning my sexuality and had the option to vote if you think I'm gay or not. So we talked about stuff like that. We do, video game stuff. It's kind of like, it's film, but we don't just stick to film. We kind of make it up as we go along, sort of thing.
Gotcha. This episode won't air for a few weeks, so can you tell me what movie it was? What was your wife's premiere? Like, what was the movie?
Oh, it was a film called Casting Chloe. It was a mockumentary, really, about what it's like to be in the casting agency, being in the casting arena, filmmaking, audition process, but from a very comedic standpoint, from people that watch what it's like firsthand to see the epic failures that some people call auditions. I think some of them are great. So it was her first film. We also have another one coming up. It's a political thriller called The Vote that she and I are working together for the first time on. So we'll be talking about that coming forward too. Yeah, so that's what she and I have pretty much on the horizon right now. But she is executive producer of the show, so she handles a lot of the guests and everything as well.
Got you. And what was the guest, the lady from the movie?
Which one, Casting Chloe?
Yes.
The girl's name is Jennifer Marie. Cool. She was the director on it. She is also she does background casting for one of the really, really big background casting agencies in New York that handles some of the big budget movies, the TV shows that you guys would know.
Gotcha.
And so she took it from that perspective of some of the submissions that you get from people that are just, I know you're looking for a 19-year-old, Asian girl, but, I'm a 75-year-old white man. If you need me for that role, I can play a high school girl. It's just the stuff that people say,
Gotcha.
The auditions and how bad they are. And just the kind of stuff that, honestly, I've done some pretty bad auditions in my time too. So it's relatable for anybody who's in the film industry.
I read somewhere that you studied martial arts. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true, yes. Krav Maga is my main specific one for a couple of teachers here in New Jersey. And then also a little bit of Shotokan, a little bit of Goju-Ryu as well.
How come?
How come?
Yeah, why?
Initially, because growing up as a kid, I was bullied on a regular basis. I was a really angry kid, and I wanted to basically beat the shit out of anyone who beat the shit out of me. Then in 1994, I inadvertently discovered Zen, realized that I was doing more harm to myself than good, and started to actually study for the right reasons. But originally, I started to learn out of anger. But I've always had personally an admiration, and a fascination for the art itself. It's not just the martial part, it's the art part as well. And it's being able to see the symmetry and almost a poetry involved in watching people, train, watching people fight. There's an art to the style, and it always intrigues me. To take it a step further in this industry as well, people like, Jackie Chan or even Tom Cruise. In my mind, Tom Cruise is probably the most badass stunt person, that Hollywood has to offer. He is not afraid to do anything. Jackie Chan was the same way. And I just absolutely admire and respect people like that. So that's how I kind of tied it into that.
So you said something that made me curious. You said that you inadvertently discovered Zen. What does that mean?
At the time, I was 17 years old. This was 1994. Actually, I'm sorry, 18 years old. 1994 in July. And I was reading a lot of books as well on stuff probably I shouldn't have been reading, on, the dim mock style, the breaking point and how to actually hurt people. The points in the body that can do the most damage, the most pain, the easiest one to hit.
So you really were an angry kid.
I was suspended 4 times in high school and was at least likely to succeed by my graduating class. So yeah, I had a lot of bullies because I was that introverted fat kid, and they're fodder. When you're in school, when you're the quiet fat kid, you're toast. But I found a book, and one of the first, messages in there was those of you who were looking to use this as a way of extracting revenge on people that have hurt you are going to be sadly disappointed because in the end you're only going to hurt yourself. And something about that line just kind of hit me. It resonated with me, and I started studying Zen from that book instead of studying how to hurt people from it. It changed my life, and literally in a couple of minutes, I went from this angry kid to suddenly realizing that I'm only hurting myself with it. And it absolutely changed my life, literally. And unfortunately, I was reading the book actually on the toilet at the time, so my biggest epiphany in my life came while I was on the can, but you know what? Take what you can get.
Is there any chance you remember the name of that book?
Ninja Mind Control by Ashita Kim.
So, yes. Good job.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Thanks. Still have it. I still have it to this day.
Really?
Ashita Kim there's some dubiousness about whether, the accuracy of who this person is and everything, but the message worked. Even if this guy is some, American con artist from Iowa, I don't care. Because the information, it set me on the right path. And that's what was more important to me than anything else. The message was more important to me.
That reminds me of a quote from Shepard Book in Firefly.
Okay.
I think it was in the pilot. I think Kaylee was asking him where he was going, and he said, wherever your ship is going. And she said, she said something to the effect of, why don't you have a destination in mind? And he said, because the trip is the worthier endeavor. And so
yes.
I think that's really cool because, from your experience, it was really the message, not so much the messenger. Like you said, it didn't matter if that guy was a con artist or whatever. It was the message that struck you and changed your life.
Yep, and that was the huge part of it. Now, you mentioned Firefly. Firefly I liked, Serenity I hated because they killed Book and they killed Wash. And I cannot watch Serenity to this day.
What's really funny is that I live in a small town outside of San Antonio called Boerne, Boerne. It's a German word or whatever.
Okay.
Summer Glau, who plays River Tam, she's from San Antonio, or at least she lived here for a while. And so she still has family here. And once a year, right after Thanksgiving, our little town has this thing called Dickens on Main. And so our little town, they bring in snow and everybody dresses up like old timey Dickens folks. And there's all these plays and all this crazy. It's like this big carnival thing in our little town. And not this last one, but the one before that. So I guess it was 2016. My family and my wife and everything, we were all down there. And it was our first time because we just moved here. And we were like, this is the craziest thing ever. And then at this tiny little hamburger shop, which is more like a sort of a soda jerk stand or whatever, I saw Summer Glau. And I was like, holy shit. And so I went over there and, she was with her family and she was doing something on her phone. So I didn't ask her for a picture because she obviously looked busy and she looked a little sort of frazzled, I guess is the word. And so I just went up to her and I said, look, I know you're busy and you're with your family and I don't want anything. I don't want I don't want an autograph or a picture or whatever. I just want to say thank you, for all that stuff that you did with Firefly and whatever. And so I just shook her hand and told her thank you. And about an hour later, I started getting all these texts that Book had died in real life. Ron Glass, that Ron Glass had passed away. And so I feel like that, I interrupted her getting that news. And then I felt like a total asshole. Oh my God, I felt terrible.
It killed Ron Glass passed away. I mean, I like Barney Miller too, so.
Yes. He seemed like a really cool dude. I mean, who knows how he was in real life, but I've loved his work. He was great. So tell me about Gwendolyn.
Yes, okay. Gwendolyn was a short film that I did last year, directed by a guy named Larry Rosen, who also runs the Northeast Film Festival. I play a guy who 20 years prior inadvertently kills the parents of a young girl in a drunk driving accident. I was found to be not guilty, so I kind of got away with it. But it was something where the emotional scars, on this girl 20 years later, and what she's become at that point, and the person that really was responsible for ruining her life. And it's her, she decides at some point to extract revenge on the person that ruined her life. Even though at this point my character has moved on, has kind of embraced the guilt that came from it, but moved on, had a family, had kids of his own and everything. And then one day she finds it, and it's about what happens at that point. When he's moved on, suppressed the guilt, and tried to have a normal life, and she, who cannot have one, finds him again.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds crazy.
Won a few awards here and there too, so I'm very grateful for that.
That sounds really cool. Where can somebody find that? Because it sounds wildly entertaining.
It'll be up on Amazon. It should be up on Amazon Prime shortly at this point. It's going to be up on Vudu, maybe on YouTube at this point too. I got to double check that.
Okay.
But if you go to my IMDb page, for example, and look up Gwendolyn, the information will be on there too, where it is. Larry and I have been working on a couple other things as well. Larry also helped produce that film Casting Chloe, which I mentioned prior. So my focus has admittedly been on that one a little bit. But, Gwendolyn was a cool one. We shot that, actually only a couple of days, so it wasn't so bad. I took a couple of beatings in that one, too. But it was actually pretty cool.
It sounds really cool.
I get beaten up a lot in films, I should mention.
You die a lot, too, right?
I do. A couple of films I have got coming, I'm going to be dying in, yeah.
So I read something notable about you is that you have, I'm sure this number is old, but you've spent more than 600 days on a film set?
I'm closing in on about 700 at this point, yeah.
Wow.
I have to look at the exact number. I have, believe it or not, I have an Excel spreadsheet that I've run with since day one with every single day that I've had on set. And I know at this point, not counting podcasts, I'm somewhere around like 690 or something at this point. Really close to that number. I just got to look it up. But when I first made the change from the finance industry to the acting industry, I had some skepticism from some people. My parents were like, okay, what are you doing here? So I built this Excel spreadsheet to kind of show over the course of 90 days, okay, this is the sets I've been on, this is what I've done. My father is the most organized person I have ever known. So if I was going to sell him on this, I was going to need to have something organized, and that's where the list came from. And I have been running with that list ever since. But yeah, it's been almost 700 at this point, which blows my mind now that I mention it.
Well, at the risk of sounding like a prick, did you need to sell your dad on it? I mean, at this point, you're a grown-ass man, right?
True. I was 34. I know. Why would you need to sell daddy on something when you're almost 35 years old? I know. But it's the fact that their opinion mattered to me, and their support mattered to me. It's a little odd, granted, but it was one of those things that, and this is going to sound weird, I never got a lot of support growing up because they had kind of their own baggage that they were dealing with. I had my own. So a lot of it, me and my parents never saw eye to eye on stuff. But as we all grew up, we all kind of started to respect the other. So, yeah, everybody's opinion kind of mattered to the other at that point. Me, my parents, and each to each other. So, yeah, believe it or not, it mattered.
You said that it might sound weird, but I think it sounds kind of sweet that, you cared enough about what they thought to try and impress them. I think that's kind of sweet.
Thanks. It's funny because originally, he was surprised that I, in the course of 3 months starting out, I think I did about 38 days, and I had the list of everything. Some of the stuff was like Food Network, being things like that, standing in for Andy Cohen. Some of it could have just been pedestrian number 3 kind of thing. So there was a lot of that. But I think it surprised them a little bit that I had made that much happen in such a short amount of time, for which I'm grateful for, partly because being a financial advisor, I learned how to make connections, build rapport, and sell myself, to strangers. And I kind of just imported that knowledge right over. In the acting industry, I think part of the problem is so many people spend so much time studying the art and the craft, Meisner, method, Strasberg, whatever it's going to be, that they miss the technique of business. And that's what hurts them a lot. I came into this industry with the business knowledge. I had to learn the acting side, so I had it sort of in reverse. I think that's what helped, sell him a little bit because I had done so much early on. And then later on, I ended up appearing, pretty featured as a background person on the show Blue Bloods, with, the Tom Selleck show. And they were big fans of Tom Selleck in that show. And my father got a ton of phone calls from every friend he had who happened to randomly see his son on TV and had no idea I was doing this. So 10 o'clock at night, he's getting flooded with phone calls. Did I just see your son as a cop on TV? And that's how it started. And that's what really sold them.
That's really cool.
Yeah, my father was in attendance for America's Got Talent. He was up at 5 o'clock in the morning to see his son there.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, really.
All right, so tell me what earlier today was so nutty. What you got going on, dude?
Okay. Well, actually, the last couple of days, I've been doing some body double work for a TV pilot called The Code, which I can't discuss too much, because it's still in its infancy. But it's a CBS pilot that I think is going to get picked up. I really do. By the time this airs, it may well have already been picked up, but I think it's got strong potential. So one of the challenges with this set, and especially when you're coming from New Jersey, is you have early wake-ups, and sometimes it takes a while to get back. So 2 days ago, I left the house at about just after 4 o'clock in the morning, rolled back at 11 o'clock at night, and then yesterday I left at 6:15 and rolled back at 1 a.m. So I had ridiculously long days on this shoot. I got paid pretty well, I can't complain, but it left me pretty tired. So I wasn't able to handle some stuff like I normally would have. And some of the work that I normally try and do in the course of a day, I couldn't do as well. And, so it's been a little nutty. Was kind of hoping this morning I can get some shut-eye, sleep in a little bit. So, of course, I started getting telemarketing calls at 7:30 in the morning.
Oh, my goodness.
To wake my ass up. Yeah. They're not supposed to call before 8 o'clock, but you know what? Screw it. Let's call at 7:30 and wake his butt up.
That sucks.
So... But that's where, like I said, it was a little crazy.
So where do you live in New Jersey? Just what town or city or whatever?
I'm in the town of Lodi, which is about 6 miles west of the GWB and west of Manhattan. It's a little more built up than the town I grew up in. I mean, the town I grew up in was a little town called Waldwick, which is the base of a mountain. We get bear crossing signs and everything like that kind of thing. But me and my wife have this place that's over in Lodi. Can't complain. Cherry tree in the front yard, gazebo in the back. So we've been here a little over a year now.
Sweet. Do you have children?
No.
That's why you can afford all that.
How about you? Do you?
Yes, I do. My children are 25 and 26, so I'm past the hard part.
Where do they live? If they're local or living in, like, Tulsa or something?
No, one of them... So I live in Bernie, which is just outside San Antonio, and one of them lives in San Marcos, which is about an hour from here. She's still in school, and then my son lives 20 minutes from here. It's okay. Cool. It's cool to have them close. Yeah, we see them all the time.
Close enough to mooch food and do laundry.
No, they don't do that. They're too busy working and doing whatever. So really, we only see them when we're gonna party and hang out and go do stuff. Like we went and saw Ready Player One on last Thursday, whenever it came out, and like we get together and do cool shit, and they come over for Easter and stuff like that. But they don't come over and abuse us, which is great.
And when I first moved out of my parents' place, I still used their house for laundry and food. So that's where that came from.
I'm pretty sure that's how it's supposed to go. Like that's the norm, but it just didn't work out that way. Texas is too fucking big for people to be doing that. So
it blows my mind a little bit because New Jersey is only like 170 miles long.
Yeah.
And 70 miles wide. So, I mean, Texas blows my mind from that standpoint.
So, in San Antonio, we have a highway, a loop that goes around the city, around the outside. There's one that goes around the inside of the city and one that goes around the outside of the city. And the one that goes around the outside of the city is, it's Loop 1604. And it's 100 miles if you just drive that loop. Like, I feel like that's how big New Jersey is.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, like I said, you can get from one side of the state to the other in literally 2 hours.
So when my wife and I go to New York, we always just stay in Rahway, New Jersey, and then take the train into New York.
Okay, makes sense.
Have you ever been to Rahway?
Oh, yeah, I know Rahway. Prison's right there.
Yes, it is. And right by the train station, for some reason, there's a statue of Nikola Tesla. I don't know why.
He's from there, I think.
That can't be, but I believe you. But that can't be. I feel like he's from Europe. Like, I don't even feel like he's from America.
We proudly claim Thomas Edison.
Well, that's true. So, over near the train station in Rahway
is the best pizza I've ever had in my entire life. It's at a place called Nancy's Townhouse, and it looks like it used to be a townhouse that they converted into a restaurant. It's phenomenal. You have to check it out if you have a chance. It is amazing. Just the regular cheese pie. It is amazing. You know, from San Antonio where we know how to make pizza. No. But it was phenomenal.
By the way, you were right on this. Yeah, he was born in Croatia, which I should have remembered. He worked for Edison before founding Tesla Electric Light on Irving Street in 1887. Okay, so basically, he was in Rahway for a while, it looks like.
Gotcha. I knew there had to be a reason. I just couldn't figure it out.
Yeah. I remember we had some kind of tie to him in Jersey. You know, I mean, like I said, Thomas Edison, we we seriously take, a lot of, credit for.
Sure.
Every kid in New Jersey knows, the Thomas Edison story. But yeah, he worked for Edison, and that was out of Jersey, so yeah. Sort
of like every kid from Texas knows the Jim Bowie story or the Davy Crockett story. We all know that.
Probably. Yeah.
So, as we're winding down, I appreciate you taking all of this time, but as we're winding down, tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
Well, I'm the only Scott Churchson in the country, so the good news, bad news is you Google me, you will find me. And possibly the aforementioned articles questioning whether I'm gay or not. But you can find me on IMDb, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, pretty much all of them. But, with the last name of Churchson, that's one of the rarest names in the country because it's only been around for like 70-some years. Like I said, it was originally Kramsovich, so it's a very, very rare name. So the good news is you Google me, you find me.
Wow. If you Google Steve Owens, there's like 73 of them just in San Antonio. Like, it's crazy.
I believe it. Yeah, no, it's. I always hated it as a kid, having a name this rare. Now I kind of like it, but at the time, I hated it royally.
Well, I think it's pretty cool to be that rare. Where can we find the Film Yap podcast?
Mainly on SoundCloud, but you can also find it on Facebook and also Twitter as well. It's also, if you go on shareduniverse.com, that's the parent site for that Ming and Mike run. You can also find it on there as well.
So Mike and Ming's, is that the name of their studio, A Shared Universe, or that's just the name of their network or whatever?
It's the name of the podcast universe. A Shared Universe is the name of actually the studio and the entire universe, yeah.
Wow. All right, cool. Well,
yeah.
Scott, was there anything that you wanted to talk about that I didn't bring up or I didn't ask you?
I did play a character named Phil in the HBO series The Duece, which just aired. They're filming season 2 and 3 back-to-back right now through August. So we'll see what happens there a little bit with myself. I didn't die in season 1, so it's very possible I may be coming back for more in the future. But yeah, America's Got Talent, that. If you're in the New York area, New Jersey Devils commercials, you'll see a lot of it. CBS News commercials, you'll see a lot of it. And then there's other various things out there, mortgage commercials, things like that. Like I said, you Google me, you'll find a fair amount. It's probably the easiest way to do it. So again, grateful for it to have such a rare name.
Yeah, no kidding. That's awesome. Well, the next time I'm in New Jersey, dude, I think I'm going to fucking reach out, have a beer with you or something.
Dude, please do.
You'll
please
probably
do.
be too busy working because it sounds like you're just crazy busy all the time. But, it's worth a shot. I'll reach out. I'll have a beer with you, man. My treat.
We'll figure it out. Like I said, New Jersey, where I am in Jersey, it's everything is accessible. One of the advantages of this area is that I've got like 4 highways right around.
Gotcha.
I'm in a suburban area, but I've got all these highways that are just accessible to everything. So yeah, if you're, you mentioned Rahway, you mentioned Red Bank, you mentioned all these towns, Hoboken. Yeah, I know how to get to all of them, piece of cake. But yeah, we'll figure it out.
Absolutely, dude. That sounds like a blast. Well, thank you so much, Scott Churchson. I really appreciate you hanging out with me and, taking the time to let us get to know you, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it too, man. Thank you.
You have a great rest of your week and weekend, sir. Take it easy.
You too now. Take care. Bye.
Good morning, Detective Lynn. It has been 120 hours since your last login. Current grid load is 192 per terabyte. System anomaly detected. System. Current trans time is 1800 hours and 34 minutes. Maintenance outage for node 4.3.1.1 scheduled for 0400 hours and will persist for 38.9 minutes. Destination loci. Synchronized. Insertion in 3, 2, 1.
Rumor is there's a new V-drug experience in the trance. Something mind-bending and a little bit deadly. But I didn't have to tell you that. Things aren't adding up. You noticed all the burners going missing lately? How about the bodies showing up in the little dark corners of the city? I've seen this before, and it's why I'm here now, Detective Lynn. How about I tell you a scary story?
The Trance, a Phil Rossi podcast experience. For details, episode downloads, and story extras, visit www.patreon.com/Phil Rossi and sign up today.
Hey guys, just a quick break in here to let you know that I'm a member of Phil's Patreon page, and I think you should be too. So here's what I'm going to do. Everybody who signs up this month, October 2018, to join Phil's Patreon page, send me a screenshot of the Welcome to Phil Rossi's Patreon page to fascinationstreetpod@gmail.com and include your mailing address, and I'll send you a sweet surprise thank you from Fascination Street Podcast.
Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2014 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is Apollo from the 2001 album Into the Known by the band Sapphire. Thanks for hanging out with us and getting to know a little bit about our guest. We'll see you next time on Fascination Street.